services in our community and to continue having the conversation about the importance of mental health. And I think that's going to be something that just continues, and we continue to see the need there, not only for our older adults, but for all of us to continue to be able to do the work that we do. Another part of what I did early on was around housing. And some of you know about the Sunshine Home Share program that was launched here in, I want to say it was February, here in Colorado Springs. And it took a little while for the organization to find the right staff person. She's bilingual. Her name is Teresa Ornelius, and she's amazing. And even in COVID times, she continues to be meeting and talking with individuals who want to share their homes, as well as people who are looking for a place to live. So that all said, I'm kind of wanting to check and see if Jody and Lisa have come back on yet, or if there is, or if there's any questions for what I do and the role that I play with the organization.
I don't see Lisa or Jody on there. Wow, there's a lot more people.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
There's Lisa.
Oh, there you are, Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Cynthia, you're on mute or something. I can't hear you.
How did I get there?
I see you talking.
Oh, well.
Lisa, can
I
you
love
hear
your
me?
background.
Can you hear me now, Lisa?
I think you muted me.
Nope, I think Lisa's having a hard time hearing people.
I agree.
Yep.
Lisa,
I'll put that.
this is Sally. Can you hear me?
All right, if you guys could just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
We can hear you, but you can't hear us.
Yay, there's Rebecca. Where's Dave?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's Lori Rossi. Hey, Lisa.
All right, we have a really good turnout for this meeting. So we are going to do a real quick introduction, and I'll start. Remember to unmute your phones when your computers when it's your turn. But I'm Lisa Aldrich, and I am the Program Services and Contract Administrator for the Area Agency on Aging. I've been with them 11 years. So it's a long time. And it doesn't seem like it's been that long. Other times it feels like it's been forever. So anyway, I am so glad to see so many people here. And there will be a recording of this meeting that you can access too. So if you want to like go back in the recording and see something that I said or something like that, then you'll have that available as well. All right, so I'll call your name. You unmute your phone and introduce yourself. Lori Rossi.
Hi, Lisa. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
It says you're
Yes.
unmuted.
Okay.
I can't hear.
Okay, I got a positive from several people. You can't hear me, Lisa?
There we go. I got it.
Hey,
All
how are
right.
you? So, yeah, so it's Lori Rossi. I'm fairly new to UCCS Aging Center and working with Dr. Lim and the incredible crew over there doing some really significant mental health work for seniors, persons 60 and over, and many services for their caregivers as well. Cognitive testing, memory screening, lots of supportive caregiver programs and services and therapy for both, again, elders and their caregivers.
And Lori isn't new to the system. She's new to UCCS, but she used to be a volunteer at the front desk at PPACG, Area Agency on Aging. It's good to see you again.
I did indeed, and I worked on the staff of the Agency on Aging in Phoenix, Arizona for over a year, a little over a year before I moved here. So,
cool.
Yeah, I have a great affinity for your organizations.
So, Mitch Cabin.
All right, I had
Yay. That's okay.
That's okay. I am with American Medical Alert Corporation. I'm the contracts manager. And this is the second year that we are applying. Last year we applied under our parent name of Connect America. So,
all right. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Cynthia. Oh, unmute yourself.
I tend to leave it unmuted because I'll stay quiet, I promise.
Okay.
But, yeah, I know. I'm Cynthia Margiata. Let's see, what do you want me to say? What I'm applying for?
The agency that you're with, and yes, you can say what you're putting your proposal in for, that's fine.
Okay, I'm currently with an agency called All About Dignity. We've been around about 12, 13 years. And I'm now applying for the grant through Pearls of Colorado. It's a home-based mental health program for seniors. There you go.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right up valley. Quickie, quickie. And now I'll be quiet.
Okay. I'll give you a quarter at the end of the meeting if you make that happen.
I can be quiet, Lisa.
Okay. Mary Swantek.
Hey, I am the Program and Operations Director at the Colorado Springs Senior Center, which is part of the city and the YMCA.
Thank you, Mary. Melissa Martz. Can you hear me, Melissa? Yeah, there you go.
Yep, there we go. Hey, everybody. So I think I made my introduction earlier. Just a reminder that I do the program development administration for our organization, the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging. Good to see everybody that I can see.
Thank you, Melissa. Jennifer. Hi.
Hi, this Jennifer? Yes. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so my name's Jennifer Pearsall-Herman, and I work in the grants department for Peak Vista Community Health Centers. And we are applying for this funding, again, for our audiology program that we've offered since 2009. That is a no cost for seniors for screening hearings, comprehensive hearing tests, hearing aids, hearing aid repairs that we offer in El Paso, Teller, and Park counties.
Okay. And thank you.
Okay.
And Sheila.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. I'm so happy to see people and hear voices. I'm with the Colorado Springs Senior Center, and right now I'm one of the people who helps track and document the grant.
Very good. Thank you, Sheila. Bobby Gore.
Hello, I'm Bobby Gore with Park County Senior Coalition, and we've been providing services since 1977, primarily with the help of Pikes Peak Older Americans Act funding, and we do a variety of services. There are no other service providers that are in Park County, And so our agency is similar to something like Teller County, where if service is going to be provided, it's been through our agency. We've had homemaking in the past. We didn't last year. We have transportation, assisted transportation, meal delivery, nutrition ed, care case management. We've had information and assistance sometimes in the past, and chore.
Thank you, Bobby. Noemi.
Hey everyone, I'm Noemi Estella. I'm with PPACGs, and I work in the AAA department. I handle the assessments, the fiscal assessments, that is, as well as the monthly reimbursements. So if you have a problem with submitting a reimbursement via OASIS, I'm the person that you would call for help. And I'm glad everyone's here today.
Thank you, Noemi. Rebecca? Can you hear me, Rebecca?
Yes, I can hear you. I was just unmuting. Just give me a sec.
Okay.
This is Rebecca Blair. I'm the Senior Advocate for Community of Caring in Cripple Creek. Have been for 7 years. Hi, Cynthia.
Yay. Thank you, Rebecca. And Sally Stockwell.
Hi, Lisa. I'm with
Sally.
New Vision Professional Services. Rebecca Shields. I'm her administrative assistant. Rebecca provides educational services, training in Braille, mobility, etc., for the blind and visually impaired age 60 and over.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome.
Roxanne.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm the grants manager at Silver Key Senior Services. It's wonderful to see everybody. And Lisa, thank you for hosting.
Oh, it's been an experience, let me tell you.
You're doing a good job. So
Well,
Zoom is something we all have to figure out, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm getting a lot of help from our communications and IT staff to help get this going. So
thank you for all that you all are doing.
Thank you. Rachael Robinson.
Hi, good morning. This is Rachael Robinson. I work for Project Danger Heart. We provide medically tailored home delivered meals for folks living with chronic and life-threatening illness. And we just received our first OAA grant in the Denver metro area earlier this year. And so we're looking at potentially applying for this opportunity as well in the Colorado Springs Pikes Creek.
Thank you.
Hey, Lisa, what organization is Rachael with? I didn't hear that.
Project Angel Heart.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. And Amber.
Good morning. I'm Amber Dawn Lurs. I work with Tim Richard over at Eyesight Rehabilitation Services.
Thank you, Amber. Monique.
Monique Habermehl with Next Day Access. We are an accessibility here located locally right in Colorado Springs. So we do grab bars, wheelchair ramps, vertical platform lifts, basically anything accessibility, you name it, we do it. And under the AAA program, we actually do definitely some supportive things like grab bars and railings are probably the main work that we do for AAA. So.
And I'm going to jump in. I'm Shannon Dela Cruz. I'm on here as well, but I'm using Monique's microphone.
Oh, okay. Did you registered for it, but but you're with Monique, right? I just need to make sure that you registered so you're on the list of attending.
Yes, I did. I
Great.
think so.
Thank you. Thank you. Joyce, how are you today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much, Lisa. I'm Joyce Whittle, and I am president of the board of the Senior Coalition in Park County. and I'm assisting with the RFP this year, and so I'm sitting in.
Thank you, Joyce.
Can I also mention that Joyce is on the Regional Advisory Council for our PPACG too. So thanks, Joyce.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
You're welcome.
I think this will help you a lot, Joyce, as far as context and perspective when we go to review the proposals. I'm glad you're here. Tim?
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome, Joyce.
Hi there, Tim Richard, and I am with Eyesight Rehabilitation, and we provide education services to adults who are blind and low vision, 16 over, and providing assistive technology instruction, how to use your computer, phones, orientation, mobility, and daily living skills.
Thank you, Tim. Sarah?
Good morning. I'm Sarah. I'm the managing attorney for the Colorado Springs office of Colorado Legal Services. We're a nonprofit statewide organization. We don't charge anything, and we help seniors and low-income folks in civil cases. So some estate planning, protection from being evicted, family law, unemployment, public benefits, and things like that.
Thank you, Sarah. Kathy?
I'm Kathy Lowry from the Teller Senior Coalition. I'm the executive director, and we provide multiple services to seniors in Teller County. Right now, it's all about getting the food out. We're probably delivering 20 to 30 bags a day, but typically we're doing transportation, homemaker, case management, chore services, respite services, and I probably forgot several, but it's a lot.
Thank you. And Mark Bowers. Mark, can you hear me?
Yes,
there you go. All right, great.
Am I late to the meeting?
I don't know. I haven't been watching. So introduce yourself and where you're from.
I'm Mark Bowers. I'm the program director at Fountain Valley Senior Center, Fountain, Colorado.
Thank you, Mark. Michelle, are you hooked up to the audio yet? Okay. Jackie Gebert.
Good morning. I'm Jackie Gebert, Territory Manager of Colorado for American Medical Alert, a Connect America company. And we have medical alert pendants and systems, medication dispensing systems, and also remote patient monitoring. And I work alongside Mitch Cabin.
Thank you, Jackie. Linda Ellegard.
Well, hi, good morning. I'm Linda Ellegard. I'm the director of an organization, Special Kids, Special Families. And we applied last year and gratefully received funds to be able to provide transportation. So, you know, we certainly want to look at that. Transportation for seniors is really crucial. And this is kind of a unique time to do this kind of work. But also we're doing behavioral health for seniors at this time, mostly telehealth, but also, you know, doing, you know, Zoom and wherever, just checking in, especially with caregivers who are seniors, because this is a population we often see as, you know, right now, those outside the home supports are so limited that extra assistance for this particular population is important.
Thank you very much, Linda. Michelle Baca.
Hi, good morning.
Hey.
I've been listening to you guys through my phone and I kept trying to talk, but I was able now to through my computer. So I'm with Community Dental Health and we've been providing dental care to our aging since 2007 now. And one of the things also what we've been dealing with is the teledentistry aspect. And even though we may have everything set up on our side, it's a complete breakdown on the user side. So I'm really excited to hear if there's other people working with the telehealth to help the end users. And please contact me because I need to work together with you to know what you're doing on the end of our seniors to be able to utilize the telehealth. Thanks.
Thank you. And Valerie Anders. Valerie, you'll need to take your phone off of mute. Okay, we're going to move ahead. Carrie Commerford.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Lisa.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, good. I am the treasurer for Mountain Community Senior Services, and we just provide a variety of services to our seniors that are up here in the northern part of El Paso County.
Thank you, Carrie. Maggie Becker.
She's on from the Teller Senior Coalition. She's having trouble unmuting, so I'm pinching in here.
I wonder if I can do it. Let me see. Okay, Valerie, I'm going to unmute you. I can. Well, it makes me think I can do it, but then it doesn't let me do it. So. Valerie works with Silver Key Senior Services, and everybody's probably familiar with them and the services that they provide, both services funded by that. There's Valerie. Hi.
Hi, but I don't think you can hear me.
Yes.
I'm on the telephone. Oh, can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm Valerie with Silver Key. I'm the Chief Financial Officer, and I just wanted to thank you guys for all your support during this challenging time with COVID. So we're providing more than 1,000 meals a day right now to our community.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's volunteers all over town doing grab and goes and delivering lunches for other folks that maybe can't do a grab and go for whatever reason. So thank you for that. All of our agencies have really just put the pedal to the metal and really getting some really good numbers out there and providing essential services for folks that are having to quarantine. So, okay, to Carrie. Maggie Becker.
Yeah, I don't think she can figure out how to unmute, Lisa, but she's
That's
on.
fine. Okay, so Gwen.
Hi, my name's Gwen. I work with Mitch and Jackie.
Okay. Gloria Winters.
Good morning, everybody. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for the YMCA. I work with Mary and Sheila, and we run fall prevention programs, Moving for Better Balance, Aging Mastery Program, and educational program for our older adults. And we are just so incredibly thankful for this agency, especially in this time of COVID, just for helping us to provide the resources that we need for outreach and engagement to our population. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria. And Shannon, I think you've already introduced yourself. And Penny Whitney.
Hi, I'm Penny Whitney, and I'm with Apani Partners. We provide leadership support, especially for skilled facilities. And what I'm really interested in is looking at the opportunity for partnerships, because during this time, it certainly has been made more evident that working together is going to help us bring best solutions. So thank you.
Thank you, Penny. And Paige Whitney.
Great. Hi, everybody. I'm Paige Whitney. I'm the director of the UCCS Center for Active Living. So Lori, welcome to the Lane Center. And then I'm also representing Bethel Nursing and Health Science Department. I'm also a faculty member there. So the Center for Active Living hosts lifestyle programs such as Power Moves for individuals with Parkinson's, as well as an interprofessional diabetes prevention program. So just looking to get connected with everybody.
Thank you, Paige. Dave Summers. Can you hear me, Dave?
He's on chat. He's on the chat.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I don't have the ability to speak. Oh, okay. Director of Outreach Development and Envita. We're applying again for transportation. And this one, I only have a phone number that ends in 5387. So 5387, it's your turn. Seems like the phones are more difficult to unmute. Let me see. Try talking now. Oh, you're probably listening on your phone. Okay. That, I think, is everybody. All right, great. So I really am glad that you're all here. I'm going to ask you in just a second to check your emails, because I did send an email out with the agenda and the proposers guide attached to it so that you would have that for the meeting. I've got to open mine real quick too. So.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure how I would go back to my email. Do I just minimize this?
Yeah, you can minimize that and then access your email.
When did you send that?
Right before the meeting.
Yeah, I don't have it either, Lisa. I didn't get it.
Okay.
I did get it. I have it.
I'm going to share it on my screen so that way you can see the documents, and you won't be able to see me, but that's okay. You've probably seen enough of me already this morning.
I didn't get it either, Lisa, just so you know. I did get this site this morning.
It came through at about 9:12 on my end.
Okay.
I got it. It's an attachment. If you got the link to the site.
Now, I opened all of those attachments and they were all the, people's logos. I had 6 attachments of logos.
Okay.
Maybe you can send that another time.
Yeah, I'll have to do that. So here's the agenda. I have to share my screen. Hold on. Let me see.
Oh, now how do I get bigger? Yeah. Okay, there you are.
All right. Does everybody see the agenda for today? Okay. So we have an overview that the AAA director usually does, but Jody's backed up with meetings today, so he is not able to make it. So Melissa and Noemi and I can kind of piggyback off of each other, and I'll start with the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, which is a voluntary agency of 16 municipalities that pay dues to use our services. And we have a transportation department, the aging department, the clean air and water department, and our accounting department. So ladies, is there anything about PPACG that I missed that you can think of? No. Now, the Area Agency on Aging is a department within the Area Council of Governments. And most of you are familiar with us. We're the state assigned area on aging for the region of Park, Teller, and El Paso counties. And we offer transportation and nutrition services are the top 2 services that we fund. And we fund a variety of other services through the Older Americans Act and the Older Coloradans Act. And we also received some COVID-19 funding. So we'll be talking more about that when you guys, after you guys apply, if you get awarded funds, we'll have another meeting for new providers and any current contractors that would want to come to that training. Does anybody have any questions about either one of those? I know most everybody is familiar with it, but I know that we have at least more than a handful of new people here too. So if anybody has any questions, just unmute yourself and ask.
And Lisa, I'll just jump in and comment, add a few more comments here that also just kind of tie into program development as well. I think everybody in the room or everybody on the screen, everybody in our space knows that one of the ways that we get money through the Older Americans Act is through the census. And so right now we're in the thick of doing the census. Many of you have been working hard with your people to get them to fill it out. If you don't know already, the census has extended out their deadline until October. And that means that they are, also extending the start time for their people who are going and doing the door knocking to later in the year. And so just kind of an interesting note to throw in there as we talk about the Area Agency on Aging and what we do, the fact that the census has a huge impact on us getting funding from the federal level and the state level, as well as everything else that happens. And so I do, many of you know that I was doing a lot of work around the census prior to COVID starting. I just did another printing, an updated printing of flyers that talk about the response rate in the different counties. And I have flyers for El Paso Park and Teller County. You can reach out to me and I can send you an electronic version, or I can also figure out how to get you a paper copy. Some of our partners are already getting paper copies from me. But again, if you have not heard from me and you want copies, let me know. And so just kind of a touch base there on the census and how it ties into the role of the Area Agency on Aging across the country.
Thank you. Noemi, did you have anything to add?
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you. I'm pulling up the program proposers guide. Thought it was.
I'll add a couple other things while Lisa's pulling
Thank
that up. Yeah, you are so welcome, Lisa. I know how it is. Running a meeting and having to do everything in the background is always interesting. So another part, again, May is Older Americans Month. Last year, it was a great time to celebrate Older Americans Month, but this year it's a little bit more challenging. And the theme this year is Make Your Mark. The Older Americans Month kind of concept comes out of the Association for Community Living, which is a national organization that really works to raise awareness about older adults and ageism, and does a lot of really great work. And so for the whole month of May, you know, thinking about how can we celebrate our older Americans and our older, you know, citizens here in El Paso Park and Teller County. The theme is Make Your Mark. And the idea behind it is how have the older adults that you come in contact with and you know, how have they made their mark in their community, in their life? But also on the flip side of it, for older Americans, they might want to say, I know somebody who's made their mark on me. And so I've gone out and done a couple of interviews with some older Americans as I've delivered yellow books, as I've delivered busy bags out to people, and just kind of asked them 3 questions, you know, kind of what year were they born? Where were they born? You know, what's their favorite, whatever it is, movie, hobby, whatever, and why? And then how have they made their mark, or how has somebody made a mark on them? And one of the older gals that I interviewed who's in one of the Section 8 housing apartments, she actually said she has made her mark on her family. And so I documented her story a little bit. Again, just those 3 short little questions. And if any of you guys are talking to people and want to ask them that, and, you know, just be thinking about May, this whole entire month, how have older Americans made their mark? Just a little additional sidelight there. I know we are, you know, over our head and working super hard on COVID and making a difference, but it also means we're talking to everybody every day. And so maybe just take a minute, take a breath, and ask people how they made their mark. And we sure know that first responders and everybody who's delivering meals and, you know, everybody on this call has made their mark for folks. But anyway, just an opportunity to think about that a little bit. And if you feel like sharing your findings with me, shoot me an email, because I will kind of be putting together some type of little collage book, something along those lines with the stories and things that I hear back from people. So there we go. And all adieu, back to Lisa and the Proposer's Guide.
Yes. So early on, when I sent out the first group of emails to folks, I attached a request for proposers guide. And this has nearly everything you need, but it would probably be like 1,122 pages if it had everything you needed. So this is the Proposer's Guide. And here in the introduction is more information about the PPACG and the Area Agency on Aging. This talks about the 4-year plan, and we just finished our newest 4-year plan at the end of last year, and it is effective through 2021 through 2023. And that plan helps us to determine what the most important services in our area are. And who would like to tell me what the top 2 areas are already? Thanks, Cynthia, for volunteering.
Mental health, I would say that's one, and usually transportation.
Transportation is correct.
Okay, I got half of it.
Yeah, that's good. And what else? Starts with an N. You can.
You're asking me again?
No. I'm just opening it up. I'm probably going to pick on Michelle Vaca though, because she's right there. So you do dentistry, and
they need to be able to eat their food, right? So
right,
in their meals.
So then the number 1 is food, nutrition.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help to have nutrition if your mouth hurts really bad from your teeth and you can't eat like crunchy things and that kind of thing. All right, and then I&A is always at the top of everybody's list. And we provide a lot of I&A services between the Yellow Book and our volunteers at the front desk.
I'm sorry, what is I&A?
Information and assistance.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, these service rankings are a little bit different. Nutrition is down at number 5. I don't know what transpired to make that happen. Probably another provider put in some surveys and said, people don't need to eat. We have an obese country. Nobody needs food. So.
They haven't been to my grocery store.
I know, right? So this is our new timeline. And yes, this originally was going to be on March 30th, but obviously it's today. We're all here having a wonderful time. And this is being recorded, and the recording is going to be available until the end of this week for review and to get credit for attending the conference. And this is no longer, I must have not pulled up the final one, even though it said it was the final one. The proposals are due May 22nd at 11:59 p.m.
I'm sorry, May 22nd?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then the Regional Advisory Council and the Technical Review Committee are going to be meeting to process the proposals, discuss the proposals, and then make some really hard decisions as to how to award that money so that it makes the most impact that we can have in seniors' lives. And then the contracts are going to be beginning on September 1st.
What date is that review, Lisa? Did you say what?
Oh, the date? It's not these dates because I put the wrong timeline in here. Let me see if I have the other one. Here says new.
Maybe you can go over those one more time.
Here we are. This one's right. This one is right here. We have May 12th, which is today. And then there is a recording that will run through Friday. And then the deadline is May 22nd. And then the internal reviews will be going on until June 2nd. And this is the date span that the Technical Review Subcommittee and the RAC are going to review those proposals. And then the RAC will review them at their July 23rd meeting. And the Board of Directors will review them at the August 12th meeting. And then proposers who are receiving funding will be notified. And then we'll be doing what's called contract edits. Some people get exactly the amount that they ask for, so they don't have to make any adjustments to their award amounts in their contract. So, but most do. And that's called contract edit. So between August 12th and August 31st, or as early as we can get it out. If we can get it out earlier than that, we will.
Lisa, this is Mary. How does that work, since the funding actually is supposed to be awarded in July and we start reporting in the beginning of August, right?
Well, we initiated the 2-month holdover. And so we've got the contracts through July or through June that we're running on now. And then we've got a 2-month contract for the carryover with a 1/6 of your original, 1/6 of your original award is in those 2 months contracts. And then the actual contracts for 2021 are going to start on September 1st.
Lisa, this is Rachael Robinson from Project Angel Heart. Does that mean the term for the new award would be from September 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021? So a 10-month period?
Yes, and for a new provider, that definitely will be the case, because the holdover clause that we implemented that's in our contracts is for currently contracted providers only. So yeah.
Perfect.
So that'll give you a little more time to get yourself set up.
Thanks for the clarification. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And Lisa, this is Mark. Could you email us that so we have that just on record?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I gotta write that down.
So Lisa, I'm sorry, just to confirm, the contract service begins September 1 and still ends June 30th. That 2-month does not extend through the end of the contract period.
That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, that's that. Okay, so everybody knows where to apply, and you can go to OASIS, and there's an RFP block, and we're going to go over exactly how to do that. I'll do one with you on your computers. to show you what it looks like when you're actually in there entering. Okay.
Lisa, could you send a link to the Oasis site so we could be doing that at the same time? Is it possible?
The application link is right here.
Lisa, I tried to get into there again and it wouldn't accept my, whatever, my email or my password that I'd set up before.
Okay, we'll have to look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. We might figure out why during the actual entering of the contract while we're doing it here today.
Hey, Lisa, this is Noemi. Do they need to have a new login every year to set up the RFP?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And that's usually the problem if folks can't get in. But
Okay.
Cynthia didn't apply last year. She's applying this year. So,
okay.
Or some folks are trying to get to the RFP through the contract reimbursement system instead of the RFP system. So since they're both with Oasis, that's an easy thing to get confused.
Lisa, this is Sally, and I did the same thing as Cynthia. I actually started my proposal a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get, and using the RFP site, when I've tried to go back into there now, it doesn't want to let me in using my password and my email. So I'm not sure what the problem is.
Now there's two passwords, I think, that you create, one for your agency and one for yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you going to update the dates and information on this form that we're going over before you send that out to people?
Sure.
That would be helpful.
So are there any other questions about where to apply? So, and proposals will only be accepted through the Oasis RFP system. This is the criteria that the TRS, Technical Review Subcommittee will be using to score the evaluations and make recommendations to the RAC. So first is the priority level from the 4-year plan. And let's see if this works. I have to control. So this is what the 4-year plan looks like. So it was July 1st of 2019 through June 30th of 2023. And the priority of services is in here and other interesting information like demographics and the results of assessments, assessment surveys, volunteers, questions, all of that stuff is in here, but mainly where proposals are concerned, the main thing you're going to use is the services that came to the top of the list.
What page is that on?
That is on 6. Oh, I don't know. Let me see. Melissa, do you remember where the list of priorities is?
What I just saw there, Lisa, was the list where it talks about prioritization by the service providers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the primary list that's in there.
Okay.
The other two charts that are in there are the, blueprint, the action plans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit more broad. But in terms of the actual list of like the top 12 things, I think that was, early on, in the plan back towards the top.
Okay.
Because now you're into the scope of what, the AAA does in general. And so if we go back up.
Yeah. Okay. So
keep going. I think that's still more, what you're looking at there is more specific. Go up, back to the beginning. There you go. Okay. And drop down.
Down here.
Keep going. So this here, the blueprint of action is a little bit more broad. Yep. So for people to kind of look at that, that's interesting, but it's more broad. And so then go down into the document further. Okay, now starting here, it's kind of interesting. These charts, people can look at those charts and they can kind of see where the needs are. There's a couple of different charts in the plan that talk about strengths and then also talk about needs. So they can kind of look through those charts as well. And you'll see those as you kind of go down into the document further. There's a couple of places where charts show up. People can refer to those. So yep, keep going down. Now, yep, perfect. So you'll see there were some strengths.
Okay.
There were some concerns. Yep, go down into the document, keep going, perfect. And then here, stop. I think this is what you're referring to in terms of the prioritization. So there they are right there.
Yeah.
What page is that on?
That is on 10.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the 4-year plan will give you a good idea of what the clients are saying that they want in services from us. And it's also, the providers also got input on this. So, and then people, I think that probably weren't even in the aging network were able to provide some input on this as well.
Lisa, is that out of 60 or 100 on that graph? See, it shows to 60. So like transportation is, what, 57 out of 6? Is it out of 60 then? Or do we look at it out of 100?
Well, they could have voted for more than one service. So there's a possibility that it'll add up to more than 100. And I think the total scores will tell you how many inputs were for transportation and how many inputs were for chore, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not going to add up to 100 because there were multiple services that folks could say were important for them to be able to age in place, or at least to be as independent as possible, because that's our overall theme.
What do they mean by case management?
Case management is assessing the client to find out overall what that client's needs are. And then they're prioritized by the client, and then based on what bubbles up to the top, is what the case manager will authorize funding for. Like they may need home care vouchers for housemaking, or it might be a caregiver that needs respite. So that just gives the case managers the information they need to authorize the services that the client needs. Sometimes it's just one thing and it's really simple, but more often when people come to our agency, they have I'm sorry, an email just popped up and distracted me. So I forgot completely what I was saying. Oh, but by the time they get to our office, it's not just raining, it's pouring. And they've waited until they're in some dire circumstances to get the assistance that they need.
Yes,
So.
that's so true. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, Kent, our family caregiver manager, will, they'll be talking about their assets and trying to determine if maybe they're available for
Free assistance somewhere?
yeah, respite, yeah. And, or no, Medicaid, if they're like, could apply for Medicaid as well as the respite services and that type of thing, because we can help with the Medicaid applications. But they're like, well, yeah, but that's for a rainy day. And Kent will remind them that when they got there, it was raining.
Pouring.
Yeah, a lot, yeah. So people get into situations gradually like that. And by the time it gets to that point, they've been in it so long, it's just normal for them to deal with that type of stress on a daily basis.
Yes.
Any questions about the proposal guide?
This will be very helpful when you send that out to us.
Yeah, just the link I'll send out to that.
Well.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? No? I was afraid I was going to cut everybody off if I hit the wrong X.
Me too.
All right, looks like everybody's still there. I went one X too far. So here we go. So the need for the service you're applying for is one of the criteria that's looked at. If you're a new provider and you don't have history with us, then you'll have to probably use your narrative to describe the need. If you have a wait list, then that could be obviously something that indicates there's more need for the service. And here's the need within the region. And then the experience, performance, and capability. And cost information. And this is you're going to need to make that as robust as possible. And Noemi and Casey are going to present on that in a little bit.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
You're referring to the 4-year plan. I know this is weird, but do you really mean 3 years and 10 months?
From July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2023. So 19, 20, 2021. No, that's too, I don't know.
Well, because what you had said that this starts a little later and it's 10 months.
Oh no, that's the contract, not the plan.
So when you want our, budget information, are you gonna want it for the 10 months or for the 4 years?
That I don't know.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
But I've had that question too. So we'll get that straightened out and let you guys know what to do. All righty.
Yep.
And then for clarity, completeness, and responsiveness, when you're writing your plan, even though you've been with us since the beginning of time, you still are going to want to write that proposal, the narrative part, in a way that you're assuming the person that's reviewing it has never heard of you. So if they read Michelle's proposal and they're going to look for that thoroughness as to, because that's going to be the only thing that they'll score you on is what you put in your proposal. So you have to write it in a way that you're assuming nobody that's scoring your proposal knows anything about your agency, so that you hit all those important things that people need to know. And then clarity of services. Does the program description match the compensated service category selected? And for responsiveness, there is going to be follow-up questions from the first technical review subcommittee meeting. And I'll be sending those questions out to the providers that they pertain to. And sometimes people don't respond. So don't be one of those folks that don't respond, because then that'll affect the scoring of your plan. And it speaks to responsiveness. And then down here are other factors. coordination with other community agencies. I think everybody gets an A++ on that this year with COVID-19 and getting everything together and ensuring that our clients are at least getting some of their more important needs addressed. The respondent's ability to meet processes and procedures, the financial stability of the organization, and references can be made available upon request.
Lisa, can I ask a question about that?
Yes.
So how do you, I mean, calculating, for instance, the volunteers, is there, you know, I have already recruited a volunteer who in their industry makes about $200 an hour. Will that be calculated about at what he typically makes, or calculated at $12 an hour?
Okay, so those volunteer hours and mileage are can be included in your in-kind. So what we've asked our providers to do is use the average hourly rate for a volunteer that's on the independent sector website. Okay. And it's $26 or $28 an hour. And then you would get that amount for every hour that you had a volunteer doing work. And we'll talk about the intricacies of that when we do the new provider training.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This talks about required match. You do need to have match available when you submit your proposal. You, let's see. You wouldn't want to put in there that you've got a grant into some philanthropic agency, but you haven't heard back from them yet. But if you get that grant, you'll use it for match. You already have to have the funds for local cash or an idea of what your in-kind is going to be when you write your proposal. That way you don't get in a position where you get denied a grant and then you don't have the match for our program, or you have to find another source of match for the funding that you get from us. And all of your rules and regulations are right here. Your required processes and procedures is if you are awarded. And there are a couple of other requirements here. There are some insurance requirements that you need to know about. So we'll talk about that in the contractors training to awardees. This is how to get in touch with me, except it's not working just yet because we got a new phone system and I haven't been able to figure out how to get a password for that. So it might be up sometime soon. All right, so do we have any questions about the program guide or proposers guide?
Lisa?
Yes. Hi, Joyce.
Yes, this is Joyce. Can I get a copy of that?
Yes, ma'am. I'll send it out.
Or can you give me the link? Okay, or a link to it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What I'll do is I'll update all of this and send the whole guide out, updated with correct information in it for this year. and I'll email it to you. And next, we're going to talk about program services and contracts. So this is the most recent version of our service definitions and entering them into PeerPlace. And I can send this to you guys as well. And what it does, it just tells you what the name of the service is, what it includes. So for assisted transportation, we also have transportation that's further down the way in the chart. And the difference between regular transportation and assisted is if the person that you're providing the ride to can't manage to do curb to curb, they need more assistance than that. So if you're offering assisted transportation and that client is not able to do a curb to curb service, like be waiting at the curb when they pull up and getting on the bus themselves and buckling in, then they would not, then they would be available for assisted transportation. So if they're able to get to the curb and get from the curb into the vehicle and get settled into the vehicle independently, then that's just regular transportation. And some of the names might change, so I don't know if these are going to be updated for the new year or not, but there have been a few names and definitions that are different than they were when this was done up.
And Lisa, where can we find that?
I'll send it to you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. There's your meals. The family caregiver stuff is sorted out separately, as is the voucher information. Mostly we have vouchers for in-home services. Like housekeeping and personal care. Sometimes transportation. Bobby is doing transportation in Park County with vouchers. So this will help you immensely when you're filling out which services you're going to provide. You're going to want to make sure that the definition and what can be the activities that can be funded under that service is what you have, that it's allowable in the service definition. Anything that has CG in front of it, that's a caregiver. So right now, UCCS and Park County. Bobby, are you still providing caregiver vouchers.
Okay, it took me a minute to figure out how to unmute again.
Okay.
We do not have caregiver vouchers. We have a caregiver program.
Okay. And then Teller had something for caregiving, but I don't know. Kathy, are you guys still doing that?
We've got respite and homemaker that we provide.
Great. So the respite is for caregivers and the homemaker is for clients over 60.
Correct.
Great. There is an additional eligibility requirement for in-home services, and those clients need to be reassessed every 6 months to continue their eligibility. So those are folks you'd be seeing them at least twice a year and definitely talking to them at least twice a year. So we will review your proposals, and sometimes it's a fine line, like between chore and material aid, that might be kind of hard to decide. So we want to make sure that the service that you want to provide is a service that can be billed under this service that you're applying for. Did anybody have any questions about the service definitions?
What if your program hits several of those different requirements or needs?
Then you apply for what you funding that you need from the OAA to be able to provide that service.
I'm not sure I understood that. I'm sorry.
So you can apply for multiple services.
Okay. All right.
I don't feel like I'm answering your question.
Well, are they separate applications? Are they?
No, it's all one.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to bring up the contract template real quick and just point out the high points. Anybody have just any general questions they want to ask while I'm doing this?
So Lisa, it's Kathy Lowry. Are we going to get a 2-month contract to sign for the 2-month gap period?
It's my understanding.
July and August. Okay.
Correct.
And so we don't know the answer yet if we're going to only do 10. Okay, so are we all, so we don't know yet if we're only putting 10 months in the RFP of expenses?
I don't know. Noemi, can you address that, or has that been decided yet?
Casey, if you're here, do you want to take that? It's 10 months.
Yeah.
It's 10 months for the next contract. It will be from September until June. There won't be any additional contracts sent out for the 2 months because we've invoked the 2-month carryover in the current contract. So there's no additional contract being sent for the July and August. That's a clause in the current contract that those providers have. for that time period. And then the next time period will be from September through June 30th. And so that'll be a 10-month expense and revenue stream. That answer the question?
Yes, and so the 2-month extension, it's just going to be 1/6 of the original dollars and units from the original contract. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, you will get 1/12 for each of those time periods, or 1/6 for the 2 months. You will be able to spend it. It doesn't have to be spent as 1/12 and 1/12. It can be spent, but that's what you'll have. Now that again is based upon what we know right now from the state. The state numbers are changing on a regular basis, and as we get updated information, you will be given updated information. But we're not getting any additional funding for that time period, so we're trying to figure out how to make that happen. Our state contract has also been pushed back 2 months, so we will have no state funding for that time period. We'll only have carryover and some of the Family Cares and the CARES Act money. So we'll keep you posted, but that's where what we're working towards right now is 1/6 for that 2-month time period.
Thank you, Casey. All right. All right, so this is our current contract template. And for those of you that have contracted with us before, very familiar with this. So let me see. Where this says scope of services, that's going to come in your contract as an attachment that comes out of OASIS once your contract's been executed. So it tells you which services you're providing, how many clients you plan to serve, how many units you plan to provide, and then all of your budget information goes in there as well. So that will be attached to this. And we call those interchangeably, we call those the contract. So usually we're talking about the document that comes out of OASIS. Of course, you have to be in compliance of all laws. The time period here will be on 10 months. This talks about your match and your consumers and your service units. Performance reports, this is your reimbursement request that you turn in every month. And somewhere it has a timeline in here. But all of your reimbursement requests are due to us by the 10th of the month after the services you provided. Like we just had everybody applying for reimbursement using for April's figures. And that's due by the 10th. This talks about audits and inspections. If your agency is receiving more than $750,000 in federal funds, you're going to have a an audit done by another agency. This talks about contributions from clients. This talks about target populations, which are low income, minorities, the ability of the client to be able, how disabled a client is, and people residing in rural areas. And cancellation or termination. Now, conformance with law. This is a really big list. I can give you one example is with our congregate meal sites. Since people are able to come in and purchase a meal at full price, then that puts them into the restaurant category. So all of our nutrition programs have to follow the Department of Health rules and regulations around restaurants. We'll go into more detail into things like how to handle contributions and that kind of thing when we do the provider training for 2021. Of course, everybody knows about the new criminal background check that went into effect a couple of years ago. An emergency response plan only pertains to nutrition and transportation providers. PPACG is a funder. We do expect that service providers include our logo and have a statement that indicates that we funded or partially funded the services being provided. That can go on your brochures, it can go on your vehicles, but that's something that you need to include in your outreach material somewhere. If you don't read anything else in this contract, please look at this section. And it tells you what all of your ranges need to be for your liability insurance.
That's very high for a small organization. That's a lot of cost.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's about $1,700.
Yeah. Here's the holdover clause for a period of 2 months upon written notice to the contractor under the same terms and conditions. The extension terminates when the replacement contract becomes effective when signed by an authorized delegate. And then you've got all of your attachments here. So if you have any questions about this, you can call us and we can help you. And that is your contract template. Do you want me to send you this too?
Please.
I would like it.
Okay. right. Any other questions right now? Okay. So right now we're going to move into the budget and fiscal requirements. And after that, we'll take a break. And then we're going to go into the application process and how to use the RFP system.
Lisa?
Yes, Joyce?
This is Joyce. Before we get into that and leave these other subjects, could I also add to my list of wishes the 4-year plan?
I can get you the link to it.
Oh, that's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. I'll probably put all of those in Google Drive and just send you a link and it'll all be there for you.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
Okay, great. All right. So Noemi and Casey, you guys ready? Drum roll.
I'm ready.
All right, there you go.
Let me grab my items here.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so I need to wait for Lisa to unshare her screen before I can share my screen.
I'm coming.
But, oh, okay.
I'm coming. I'm running.
All right, let's see.
Okay.
Okay, so you know how to do that? Push the green share screen button.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which screen I want to use.
All right, good. Yay. So you guys want a copy of this too? We'll just copy everything. Like Santa Claus. I want
When in
cookies.
doubt, copy.
Exactly.
All right, everyone, this is the fiscal portion of the presentation today. And it's by myself, Noemi Estella, and Casey Partridge. Casey joined the conference late. Casey, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Casey Partridge. I'm finance manager for PPACG. I work with Noemi and Lisa on the AAA as well as all the other programs that we run on PPACG. And I work on the reimbursements and the assessments with Noemi. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. For a lot of you, I will be your one of your primary points of contact if you are submitting reimbursements on a monthly basis. I will be reviewing those along with Casey, but I will be your primary point of contact on those, as well as I will be around to help out with amendments and as well as many of the fiscal assessments, excuse me. And those fiscal assessments are done annually. Okay. First slide here is regarding the fiscal year. It's actually starting the next fiscal year that you're going to be budgeting for and working your, preparing your RFP for is, that's going to be beginning September 1. As Casey noted, that will go from September 1 to June 30. So you'll be preparing that RFP for a 10-month time period. You're going to be including your expenses, your program income, as well as your match, your required match information. You want to make sure that for your organization, you're submitting all of the applicable expenses that you're going to be using. I've seen many people leave out expenses that their organization that they're going through, and they're not able to use those because they didn't think about them at the RFP process. So this is a time for you really to, if you've done this before, really think through what new expenses are coming up that are associated with that program. So just give a lot of thought to this and make sure these are available for you. And yeah, one of the things, don't copy and paste. You really want to use, be thinking closely about these expenses. Okay. Direct cost versus indirect cost. You'll see this in the expense portion of your RFP. And the direct costs, these are things that are computed and identified directly with a particular grant, contract, or project or activity. Examples of those are program supplies and mileage. And then the indirect costs, these are things that are not readily identified with a particular grant. And examples of those can be building expenses, utilities, and telephones. So those kinds of things. You really want to be careful to include those in your budget. Are there any questions so far?
I had a quick question. Did any of those acceptable indirect cost items change between last year and this year? Or are they consistent?
I think they're pretty consistent. Do you have an example of one? No? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm sharing office space. So that was a phone call that was here.
I get a quarter.
Okay.
Cordino. Hi.
This is a list of things that we need to have in our possession before we can start reimbursing you. These were alluded to by Lisa a few minutes ago as she was going through that last document. These are things that you need to have proof of, and you need to submit these to us before we can move forward. So any questions on those?
Yes. Do you need them on volunteers as well?
Lisa, can you answer that question?
The criminal background checks you do need, and the insurance requirements are for the agency. So those should cover your volunteers as well.
Yeah, what about it?
So you wouldn't necessarily need to provide. Yeah, you don't want your volunteers to have to buy commercial insurance.
And are the criminal background checks for all services, or did you?
Anybody, it's any client that has direct contact with, I'm sorry, any staff that has a direct contact with the clients.
Oh,
you would
so just
need
for
to do
anybody
background
that has
checks.
contact.
Yeah, and you don't have to provide us copies of those, but we will ask to see them on assessment. Just, you know, randomly review employee files.
Good idea.
Thanks, Lisa.
Okay, thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Lisa also mentioned this, I believe, in the last, as she was going through that document, providers receiving over $750,000 in federal grants are required to submit a single audit within 60 days of completion of the audit. So I think many of you received the questionnaire in January from us that asked you just to confirm whether or not you needed to submit that audit to us, whether or not you needed to comply with that based on how much federal, how much money you were receiving. So any questions on that? Probably not. Okay, and so we just talked a little about expense and budgeting for that. There's also a requirement for match. And the match is, the minimum match is 10% of the total program cost. So I'm sorry, that was a phone call. There's also, that's 10%. But if it's a family caregiver support program, that match is 25%. That's the minimum. And we'll get a little into that more detailed here as we go along over the next few slides. In-kind is one of the kinds of matches that you can use. Non-cash contributions may consist of time, equipment, space, and other items committed to the goals of the program. And also the in-kind match may involve the use of items of personal time donated by a third party, for example, volunteer labor. And Lisa mentioned earlier that a way to, there's a standard rate that you can find online. I should know the rate. I believe it's between $24 and $28. And so you would use that as to value the hourly rate for your volunteers. That's just an example of in-kind.
And mileage?
That's also true, yes, for your volunteers. And then your cash match. This is the real cash that you've contributed. And this can be the difference between your actual program cost and your PPACG reimbursements may also be considered a match. So cash to cover program costs not already covered by PPACG, and it may include a grantee organization's own funds or cash donation from non-federal third parties. So here is an example. Your program costs your organization $5,000 a month. PPACG reimburses your organization $3,000 a month. So the $2,000 difference may be reported as match as long as you're able to prove the expenses.
So that's a way for you to utilize the cash match, if that works for your organization.
Training and such, that can be considered a donation?
I'm sorry.
If I paid for training for a particular, this program, and out of my funds, can that be considered donation?
Casey, can you answer that one?
So the answer to that is, we will allow expenses that you have included on your budget, your cost of your program, but that we are not reimbursing you for. So if you have training on there, but it costs more, or it's in excess of what your reimbursement is, then we will allow it as a match, as a cash match.
And for that, like if it's above the 25% or whatever the requirement will be, can part of that be carried over to another month?
We calculate it on an annual basis. We're tracking it annually. So if there's 1 month you're short and you may get up the next month, that's not an issue.
Yeah.
But if you're falling behind annually, we will contact you and say, look, your match is not where it needs to be. You need to increase that.
Good, thank you.
So does the cash match apply to a donated service? So for example, on with meals, if they supplied a glass of milk with every meal but did not include that for reimbursement, is that a cash match or an in-kind match?
So I'm sorry. If that's something that you would normally pay for and we can see what that cost is, you could, and that you would normally pay for, but you're not, then it's an in-kind match. If it's something that's above and beyond and you actually pay for it, then it's a cash match. But anything that you're not paying for is not a cash match, because cash match has to be something that you actually spend cash on. Otherwise, it's an in-kind match if someone's donating it to you and you're not paying for it.
Can you give us an example of that?
Well, rent. If you're paying for the rent and it's above and beyond your cost, then that we're reimbursing, then it's a cash match. If you have, if someone's donating that facility to you and you would normally pay $400, that's an in-kind match. So you're not paying for it, they're giving you the space, then it's in kind.
And that would be calculated at what the regular cost would be?
Yeah, if you have proof of what that cost is, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Casey, for people who are new to this, I'm not, but there's the cash match, and then there's also program income. It can be entered, into OASIS either way. Will you clarify that for everyone?
Program income is money that you actually receive a donation from someone and you record it as program income, and then your expenses should exceed your reimbursement by whatever that program income is, so that we can see that that's going back into the program. So if somebody comes in and offers you a donation or puts a donation in your box, then that's considered program income. That's not a cash match, that's program income. But we should be able to see, when we do your assessment, we should be able to see that that program income
Casey,
is going back
for the
into
cash,
your,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you sometimes.
we need to be able to see that that program income is going back into the program.
So say
for a new program, And at this point, we haven't gotten any in kind of some kind. So we start recording when we get the funds?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So the program I'm planning to open, Pearls, is it's new. Well, it's not actually not in Colorado until I brought it here. So that I have not gotten any donations yet.
You put those donations in the month that you receive them once you get a contract from us.
Okay.
We're not looking
So I
for
don't
them
need to
now.
include that in my budget at this point. Okay.
If you don't have any or not expecting any, then I would not budget any.
Right. Right.
So if we were expecting donations, so again, in the meal situation, so for example, if we expected a $1 donation per meal and we did not receive that donation, then would that be applied into a cash match or an in-kind match?
If you are budgeting or are expecting a donation of that, let's say you expect somebody to donate that $1 to you off of your invoice. Someone else's, you would normally pay $12 a meal. You're expecting them to donate $1 and only charge you $11, then you would budget the $11. If it ends up that you have to pay $12, then that would be a cash match because you'd end up paying more than you expected to.
Thank you.
Casey, on the cash match, if something is not already itemized in the proposed budget, will you still consider it a program cost? Or if it wasn't originally identified and it's applied to the program, does it get kicked out if it wasn't identified in the original budget?
It depends on what it is. We'd have to have a discussion with that at time of assessment, whether or not it's something that we would normally see in a budget. That's on a one-on-one basis. Normally it's something we only consider stuff that's in your original budget that you may have budgeted to be $100 and it comes in at $500. And so your $400 would be included as a cash match. But if it's not on there at all and you end up paying $500, we would have to look at each individual case and see if that's something that would be normally charged within the program.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions on cash match at this point?
I have one more question. So like you said, when you're reviewing that, and if you realize that perhaps it was identified between cash match and in-kind match, would you advise the agencies that perhaps it was put in a wrong category?
We are not, when we look at match, you may budget something as cash match and it comes in as in-kind match. We're not, we will allow it either way. We're just making sure that there's a match that's meeting the requirements. So if you budget a cash match and all you get is in-kind match, that's fine. And it's the same amount. We're not concerned about whether or not it's a cash match or in-kind. We're concerned that you're meeting the 10% or 25% requirement.
This is Mary from the Senior Center. Last year, we were told we couldn't add a portion of utilities. Is that still the case? Or like, we offer classes in-house and people are using toilet paper and soap. Is that something that we can include or that's still a no?
You can include that, but if you include that as part of your expense or part of your cash match, then we need to be able to verify it. And sometimes it's just include it in your indirect amount instead of, if your indirect is less than 20%, we don't need a verification. If your indirect is over 20%, then we got to verify every dollar. So if you can break out what the cost is on your utilities for our program and you can prove that cost, then we will allow it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's talk about, just give a quick overview on how you calculate that required match. So, the 10% portion, the required match of 10%. If your total program cost is $100,000, your match requirement would be $10,000, and the 25% minimum match, which is required for the caregiver services, if your total program cost is $100,000, your match requirement would be $25,000. Please note, it's recommended that the minimum required match be provided each month, and as we said earlier, I believe Casey mentioned, that's actually, we look at the entire fiscal year for match. So if, as she said, if you were down 1 month, but you make it up the next month, that's fine. But just remember that you should continue to provide a match each month. Income from other federal grants can't be utilized to match the federal state dollars, and your match must be clearly documented. Remember that you have to prove, besides the expense and your expense numbers, you have to be able to prove your match. So make sure you keep a good accounting of those items. The Older Americans Act prohibits charging of fees, and each older adult has the opportunity to contribute toward the cost of the service. An older adult can't be refused service if they're not able to make a contribution. And finally, any client contributions are to be spent to expand or enhance the existing program. So along with that, all funds that are client contributions need to go back into the program and used for program expenses. And you'll be expected to show proof of that at assessment. So we're about to start these RFPs. So I think most of you have been using OASIS. You'll be using that for the RFP, but on a monthly basis, you'll be requesting reimbursement through the OASIS system. Training will be provided, and additionally, your units must match. So you'll be submitting peer place reports, and the units that are on those reports will need to match the units that you have put into OASIS for reimbursement. And without those matching, we can't process your reimbursement. Many of you will be reimbursed via the per unit cost method. That calculation is the number of units times your CPU, and we'll get to that in a little bit. That's your cost per unit. Any questions to this point?
I do. I have one question real quick regarding the match side. So going back to my analogy of the glass of milk during a meal. So then do we all need to keep track of every glass of milk that the agency donated for that meal? So we have to keep track of every single person that received a glass of milk and provide those names and dates that they received those glasses of milk during their meals?
I think, Casey, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is not, I'm not sure if this is a question that is across the board, applies to every single provider in the same way. I think you have to be able, like we're talking about match, you have to be able to prove that, but how does your organization, how are they reimbursed? How are you operating? Are you using the per unit cost or using actual cost reimbursement? Does that, am I explaining that right, Casey?
Yeah, you report your match on a regular basis. We're not coming in every month and looking at your match. When we do our assessment, we will ask you what your match is and how you prove that match. What that looks like it varies for each organization. You need to be able to prove what your match is, whether or not it's in kind or cash match. You know what you're reporting, you know what you can prove, and that's what we're asking for. So I don't know how your glass of milk is handled, and everybody's going to be different. So that may be something we want to discuss offline.
Did that help, Michelle?
I have a question on the budget. I remember in years past there was some type of, I can't remember exactly, federal rule where if the budget's like 20% or something, there's less documentation. Naomi, do you remember what I'm talking about?
So if you're submitting expenses and you're Casey, can you help me out with this one? She's talking about the 20% not being under 20% or under not having to prove, and being over 20% having to prove, I believe is what she's asking.
When you submit your budget, when the providers submit their budget, we look at your budget submission and your final contract budget. And in there, you've put indirect or other administrative overhead costs. If you've labeled them as administrative overhead cost, or you've put a budget line in for indirect, if that amount in your budget is over 20%, when we do your assessment, you're going to need to prove those amounts, which means you're going to need to give us the detail, the cost, the invoices, whatever makes up those indirect costs, your salaries. If that amount in your budgeted final budget contract amount is less than 20%, we are not going to require that you prove those numbers. We're going to take whatever that percentage is, if it's 19.6%, and we're going to say, okay, whatever your direct costs are, we'll give you 19.6% in indirect without having to prove those line items with invoices or payroll detail. Does that answer your question?
So that was, yes, it's indirect or administrative, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So when you're filling out your budget, if you put a person in as an administrative person, we consider that an indirect cost.
Any other questions?
I have one other question. I'm sorry. In years past, we got this thing called RFP instructions that kind of goes like part by part on the RFP. Or did that go out yet, or will that go out this year?
Lisa, do you know about that? Can you answer that?
I had to figure out how to unmute. Can you repeat the question, Sarah? I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry if this might not be the right time, but remember in years past, there used to be this request for proposals, RFP instructions, and then it would talk about of how to fill out the application. Did that go out yet?
That hasn't gone out yet because there were some changes to the graphics and the way the questions loaded and everything. So before I send it out, I'm gonna run it through a test drive.
Okay. Thank you. No more questions for me.
That's okay.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
I have a question. This is Kathy Lowry. So as we all know right now, we're dealing with an extraordinary situation. We're allowed expenses that we're not normally allowed. Should we plan for that still going on in September, or should we assume any special requirements will be done separately? Does that make sense?
Special requirements for COVID?
Yes. I mean, I hope it's not still going on, but it's possible.
Lisa, do you want to answer that?
I don't.
You think?
If anything, it's the opposite. I mean, the biggest thing you're going to want to watch is no, that you don't even really have to do that because we do that. We allocate where the funds come from when we get it. I don't know, but there are call-in meetings for providers every Wednesday, and I can send you the link to that if you want it, or you can get the link and then actually listen in on the meeting and ask that question there.
Okay.
It's just which order that it gets spent is probably making more of is the main thing that the state is worried about, because we want to expend all the funds that we can't get carryover for. So that would be the COVID and the state funds.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. The monthly reimbursement timeline. So those will be submitted. The deadline for submitting those on a monthly basis is the 10th. And if that falls on a weekend or a holiday, then the deadline will be moved to the first business day after. And so if you miss that deadline, your reimbursement window moves to the next month. We only issue reimbursement checks once a month. And so just please pay attention to that deadline. What can cause a delay in receiving your reimbursement? You submit a reimbursement and no peer place reports are attached, or no backup to substantiate or to for your reimbursement. Maybe your units on your peer place report do not match the units that you've loaded into OASIS. So keep an eye on that before you submit those. And then assessments. Casey and I handle the fiscal assessments, and we do that on an annual basis. And the timeline for those assessments, that'll be established as soon as we get contracts finalized. Last year, it was around August 1st. So it's going to be, we'll see where that date lands this year, but we will get those dates finalized for your assessment as soon as the contracts are signed, finalized. you'll have the opportunity to request a date that fits in your schedule. So keep that in mind. You'll be given the month to be assessed, and you'll be given a spreadsheet with some guidelines as to what information needs to be submitted and in what form. On-site visits will include a review of your expenses as tied to your budget, financials, expenses, payroll, etc. And we touched upon this point just a few minutes ago about indirect. So if your indirect rate is above 20% of total direct cost, then we'll need to verify every dollar of that. So our process is we verify the information, we compile the data, we complete the assessment, and then you'll receive a final report from us. Any questions on the assessments?
Yeah.
Fiscal assessment?
It's Lori Rossi. Just a quick question on the on-site visits. Are those included in the timeline for the assessments? Those are pre-established and they're in that?
Yes.
Timeline?
So so you'll get an email from us that will give you the timeline. In many cases, there won't be an on-site needed. If we can verify everything via email ahead of time, there won't be an on-site needed. It depends on how the assessment is going with your organization.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the purpose of the fiscal assessment is to verify and prove expenses, and it is a requirement of the state, and we're audited annually. Those assessments, our auditor will routinely pick one out and just comb through it. So we're not doing this for fun. We really have to make sure that we're following rules in how we administer these funds to our providers. So you have to be able to prove your expenses, and we have to be able to prove that we're handling these funds correctly. So that is the purpose. I think I skipped something. Make sure you spend the money. One of the things that we look at after the RFP, not us, but the TRS, and when they're deciding on funds and how much to give out, one of the things that they may look at is whether or not you've even used all of the funds from the prior year. So make sure you're spending the money. And that is the end of the slideshow. Do we have any questions? Lisa, do you want to take over from here?
You're on mute, Lisa, I think.
All right. We only have another hour left to.
Hey, Lisa, can I jump back in really quick?
Absolutely.
Okay. Casey, I'm sorry. Did you have anything to say?
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right.
I don't
Thanks,
know.
Lisa.
Did you mention the back billing that we're changing this year? I don't remember.
I did not. Casey,
Okay.
did you want to?
You need to bill for the current month. We're not going back and taking months prior. We haven't done that all year, and we're not going to start that next year. So if your OASIS reports need to tie to your peer place reports, and your peer place reports are supposed to be for the month that the service was provided. So there's no billing back into previous months.
So if, for instance, we're going to donate to training costs, we've already done that, and done those trainings, can that be included?
What we look at when we do the assessment is the month we're assessing. We're not looking at previous months. We'll look at annual costs. If there's an annual cost of insurance that you paid in October and we're assessing December, we will take 1/12 of that cost. If we're assessing October and you paid it in October, we're still going to only take 1/12 of that cost. We don't take stuff that items that happened previous unless, and if we do, we will take 1/12 of that. But what I'm talking about is when you're doing your if you have monthly reimbursements and you're running with a CPU and not actual cost, you need to put those units into the correct month, and that's the month that we'll pay for. If you have units that you forgot to put in 3 months prior and you want to put them in that month, if they're not in Pure Place for the month that we're paying for, we tie the Pure Place reports to what's in OASIS, and that's what we're going to pay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, take 5 or take 10 and be back at 12:15, and we'll do the Reader's Digest version of the entry of the RFP when you get back. Okie doke.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks.
Hey, Lisa, I sent you a chat. Can you see the note?
Yeah, I thought I responded to it. Maybe I have a response here with my cell number in it. So, oh, there you go. I have to send it for you to see it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Can I call you after?
Let me see if Casey and Melissa and I were supposed to meet, but I'm not sure. We're looking at canceling that meeting. Melissa, are you still here? She's probably taken 10.
I'm here. And I think you're talking about the meeting with Jody, not Casey, right? This afternoon?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to cancel it. I know I said I thought we could do without and just keep, plugging away at the stuff we're doing.
Right.
And that's the last I heard. So I'm saying okay to cancel.
Okay, great. All right.
Well, if you're okay with that, if you don't mind, if I can just...
I don't mind.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Hi, Lisa. You're on mute. Oh, man. This is so way over my head.
Nah, you'll get it.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping.
Yep. And when it's reviewed, if there's any questions, we'll ask. And if you have any questions or a need for technical assistance, okay, you can ask.
I appreciate that. But
You're welcome.
I'm madly taking notes. And I did put together what I thought you guys would be wanting.
Yeah.
So far, some of it's worthwhile.
Good.
Oh, God. You know, you can look up this stuff on the internet. So I did that.
See, it's Roxanne Eflin at Silver Key. I just sent you a private chat message.
Who did you send it to, Roxanne?
To Casey.
Oh, to Casey or to me?
To Casey, question regarding CDBG funding for match.
I responded to it, I think. No, I sent it to Valerie. And the CDBG, if it's federal money, it cannot be used for match. And I think it is federal money.
I have a silly question. Of course, I've been talking about this pearls. And there's a couple of agencies that are very interested. And I've already started a waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to bill for some of these services, would that be like a match? Oh, I'm sorry, the dogs are barking.
That's okay. Okay, can you say that again?
Yeah. So, you know, there are a couple of agencies out there that want to bill for services. They want me to do more hours for their particular clients. And they're talking about billing for services. Would that be a match?
Would they be, they're billing you for services you're providing
They
to
would
them?
bill other like insurances and such. And then I'd get paid.
I don't know. We'd have to talk more
Yeah.
about that. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure I understand the full context of the question.
So, okay. Agency A, I talked to them about this program and they said, oh my God, we need that desperately. We will bill their insurances, their clients' insurances, so that I can put in more hours of service.
Yeah.
And
are you asking me, or that's why
I'm
you're having you
asking
do?
what would that be qualified as?
That would be qualified as something that you offer outside of the grant.
Okay, so that wouldn't be donation or income,
No,
or
they're paying.
income.
If they're
Income?
paying the. No, I don't think it can be funded through the grant unless they're all going to be, all your participants are going to be over 60, or I don't know. We'd
Well,
have to
I
look.
mean, it wouldn't be in kind.
Not necessarily. That's why I need to talk to you about that. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of agencies that offer the same services to a different set of clients, and they private pay for those services. So that would be more.
They'd all be over 60. Absolutely, they'd be over 60.
Can I throw something in here, you guys, Lisa and Cynthia?
Thanks.
So Lisa, I think if you use the example with Cynthia of like next day access, you know, and the fact that they have lots of older adults who might end up private paying for stuff and are not looked at as part of the grant at all, and they're completely outside of it. So maybe that might help Cynthia see that a little bit better.
So that's outside of the grant. So that would not be like an in-kind added or anything. Okay. All right. No, that makes sense. Trying to figure out where I can do my matching.
That you wouldn't be able to use as match if it's outside of the grant.
Right.
So.
Well, it was a try.
Girls got to ask.
Still, I'm trying to figure where to get that. You know, my psychologist, I was counting on him from being able to match. But don't ever tell him he's only worth like 24 bucks, okay?
Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. And if you all already have, well, let me see. I was going to have you do it on your computer with you, but with 38 participants, that might be a little more difficult than it sounds when I say it inside my head. So I'm going to share my screen. And sorry, I'm trying to find the link. So this is the link that you'll follow to get to the proposal system. And the first thing you need to do is log in. And you'll do the pull down, and this is the login for this year's RFP process.
Yeah, that's the one that wouldn't let me in this morning.
Okay. Let's see how I do. It's not going to let me in either. See, but I know I typed in the wrong password, and I don't save my Oasis passwords because it won't use different passwords for each module in here. So what you're going to do is to review or download the details of this solicitation, click here. Let's see. Okay, so that looks like the timeline. And you guys can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes,
And
that's
so,
exactly what it's been doing, I think, to all of us, to.
okay, so here it says, if logging in for the first time, please click here. First time means the first time for this RFP, not the first time ever, not if you used it last year. So the first thing that you want to do is click here. Like I said, I don't save my password for OASIS modules because it gets confused. So here are the terms and conditions. They're not any different. You just have to agree that you agree to them. So you click that. If you don't agree, you click this and it'll say, okay, see you next year. All right. If your agency is already registered for this request, enter your agency registration code below. Okay. So first you have to do the agency profile.
And please make sure in this agency profile and your legal name of your agency, not what your program name is. This is what shows up in all of the systems. This is what we pay your checks to. So we need to make sure that your legal name is what you're legally on your W-9s, because we're going to ask you for that. And those names need to tie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Down to the last period and comma, capitalization or not. So, because that W-9 is how your agency is specifically registered. Now, if you're registered, if your W-9 says one thing, but your business does business under a different name, then that would go here. You put your phone numbers in here, you put your email address in there, and then you confirm that you are a duly authorized agent. A record for your agency was created and assigned to registration code. So then you take this code and put it in here. That's not it. Like that, and then also write it down. You will need to share this with your colleagues. Once you've recorded the code, enter it below to create your personal login profile. Your agency is registered for this RFP. So that code is what everybody's going to need if they're going to need to get into the RFP and do anything. include your email on the RFP email list. I'm not sure what this is, so I'm gonna rewrite that. I saved it from last year, I guess.
So we create another password?
For your personal password. The one for the agency is for the whole agency to use, and then each individual has to create their own password.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do they send you chocolate at the end?
No.
Just chocolate. Sorry.
Okay, I didn't enter my title. So this is the required reading. You've got the schedule, the period of performance, which is going to be 10 months this year. Financial information, insurance requirements. There is a lot of redundancy in here, so that's good. HIPAA business associate agreement. Proposals and proprietary information, required processes and procedures, the evaluation criteria. So this is pretty much online, the version of your proposer's guide, the same information that's in there. So as you went through it, checked them all off for you, and you've read and understand the information in the required reading sections. Click that, click agree, and then create a new proposal. So this is where the rubber meets the road for your proposal. So you're going to click edit. And if you click download, then you can print it, a blank one. So your proposal title will go in here. And then your proposal description. So at the very least, you have to have your agency name and the services that you're proposing for. And then down here, you're going to briefly describe the services that you're applying for.
Can we cut and paste?
Huh?
Will we be able to cut and paste?
No, I think earlier that was covered, but that may have been from last year's RFP.
So I'll have to type all of it in. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when I was talking earlier about being as specific as you can about your agency, you only have 450 characters for this. So you need to be thorough and concise at the same time.
Do they like it in sentence format or bullet points?
What kind of format?
Sentence format or bullet points?
There's either one.
Okay.
As long as you can fit it in the 450 characters.
Well, Lisa, you know who you're talking to.
I know you'll figure it out.
I mean, I'm very wordy.
So the information was saved successfully. If there was anything wrong in here, then you would get an error message for that. So to get to the next section of the proposal, you're going to go to services, and you'll pull down the service that you want to apply for.
What if you hit several of the different things?
We'll talk about that later. You can do multiple services, I promise.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay. So homemaker, add now. And here's homemaker. And here's where the requested funds will go, but it'll pull that over from the budget. So the service details, you have 750 words to describe what you're going to do here for homemaker services. Okay. See, I didn't do what I needed to do and I hit save. Okay. So there you would put the service details better than I did. Then this is the budget piece and you're going to edit that. And for personnel expenses, you have a position title and they're either direct services personnel or administrative personnel. So as an example, at the AAA, we do provide some direct services. So that's our case management staff. So they would be listed under direct services. And I'm part of the administrative team. So I would be listed under administrative personnel. And then here, you put whether it is hourly or salaried. And most times direct services folks are hourly.
Is there a spot for people who are, what are they called? Independent contractors?
It's hourly or salaried.
No choice.
Are you going to be subcontracting with somebody else?
No.
Okay.
But one of my consultants might be a consultant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We can talk about that specifically to your case, but I'm going to kind of have to whiz through this because I only had 25 minutes and I'm not going to keep you guys late. So then, so we have direct services. So we have an hourly rate of $16. And total hours is 40. Add personnel. And then you can add more as you go. And it keeps a budget down here for you. So you'll know how much I don't know how it's doing that without. Okay. So that's the cost of this, just that one personnel person. Is this, maybe this should be, so I need to edit it, and that's over here. Total hours, and I only put weekly hours in. And full-time hours are 2,000 something or other. And it's telling you that the expenses don't match the revenue, but that's only because you're not through working with it. So usually this won't go away until you're done with the last part of the thing. So there's $32,000 right there. And you can go back, or you can enter another person. So you just keep entering position titles. If you have two of the same position, then you would total what the cost of those two people are and put it in here. So if you had two housekeepers working almost full time for $16 an hour, it would be $64,000. And then program expenses, and this is our list of all of the expenses that any category you could need to do your expenses is in here. I'm gonna have to do background checks. How much are background checks these days, guys?
I got like 20, 25.
Okay.
It depends on how many different checks you're doing and the level that you're doing.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because there's the other background check that we have to do as well. I've forgotten what it's called. Actually, okay. That's not what you're going to put in there. That's what I'm doing to save time. It might be easier if you do your expenses first. That way you'll have an exact number that you're going to apply for instead of doing the amount you're going to apply for in the revenue and then doing the expenses. So it's flipped a little bit, but you see where that makes more sense, that you would do your expenses first to determine how much you're going to ask for.
I see in there contract services, that you could put the contractors in there.
Yes. That's where you would put that person that you were asking about, because they're not your employee.
Right.
They're an expense to the program. And here's the total amount that you're requesting. in the proposal, it used to have a little budget thing that it calculated. Maybe if you click this, nope. So here's the green that you're looking for.
If you click on the budget summary, it'll pull up your budget to your left, or to the left, in the main budget summary. And it'll drop down.
Okay, great.
Where does it do that? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand him.
Just move the mouse all the way to the left right there, Lisa. And click on that.
See where I'm pointing right here?
There, okay, thank you.
If you click on it, it drops down.
Okay, and then your matching funds. And here it tells you how much your match needs to be is at least 3777.78. And then you put down here what your match is going to be. And you can round it up to the dollar, and that'll get you your minimum. And let's say that we're a local government entity, or we're getting some money from the cities and the states that in the community. And I am going to put $2,000 there. Maybe if I put it out there, it might really happen, right? Okay, and we're gonna add the local matching funds. And we've identified 2,000 so far. And that's in red, so you know we haven't gone far enough yet. So then we'll do local matching funds. And the source is volunteer hours and mileage. You also have donated space, goods and equipment, and then there's other in-kind as well. And then we're gonna put $2,000 in there, and that will at least get you a little bit over the minimum. And see how that turned green from red to green? But now our expenses don't match our revenues. And I think that's because we have to add the cash match in there. So let me go in here. Now they match. So your cash match goes towards your revenue, but in-kind doesn't because it's a a service or time that, you know, of volunteers or donated space, that kind of thing, isn't an expense. So and now we're back here. And then here's your other revenue. And voluntary client contributions. And this is just a guesstimate. You do need to be able to exhibit how you came up with the amount. It could be based on last year's stuff. So.
Lisa, that's where I have just a little question. I need to get clear on that. And so if we've budgeted the contributions and we've been able to donate those contributions, that we would cover those, you know, how do we do that then? Does that show us in a cash match? Because
yeah, that shows up in the cash match.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Let's see how we're doing on time. All right. So there aren't any questions in the proposal narrative. And there were only 2 last year proposal narrative questions. I'll review those and see if we need them again. And if we don't, then this will just stay like this and you won't have to do that. But this is like hard coded into it. And I don't have the authorization to go in and change that part of it, but I could probably get Chocolate to do it. Okay, and then the only thing you're required at this point in time.
Lisa, I had a quick question. I'm sorry, in services, it's Lori Rossi.
Hi.
Hi. So when we were in services, so when you go into service detail.
Oh, I haven't finished that, had I? I didn't. Go ahead, finish your question. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's okay. So when you go in there, I think on last year's, there were like 7 related questions about the service details.
That was probably year before last. And a lot of those, we didn't really need the information. We would need it if the proposer was awarded funds. But at the point of the proposal, it was a lot of information that we really weren't gonna absolutely need unless you were awarded. So that's why we reduced the number of questions.
Because they had to do with, is there a wait, you know, if you have a wait list and how you're targeting.
Yeah, and you can put that in your narrative just as easy as, you know, like so here under service details, you could put
just
that
put it in there. Because you've got, I think, 700, it's 750 in this, 750 words in this section, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
For each service detail. Okay. Okay.
So we've done the budget and we're going to do the units and clients. And then you check the communities, areas that you're going to provide services to in here. A brief description of your service areas that you checked above. So if you go to Teller County, but you don't go to Divide, then you would put that in the description. And this is where you propose your number of units. And if you're already a provider, you can use your previous information to determine your units, what you provided the year before, anything you're looking at coming up this year that might impact how many units of service that you provide. So I'll just put 500. I made that up. Don't do what I do. And if you're a new provider, you know, it's really hard the first year, unless it's a service that you've been providing under another funding stream. So you have an idea of how many units you would be serving. And then the unduplicated clients, you might provide 100 clients 5 units of homemaker. So we'll make that 100. Okay, and that was saved successfully. And volunteer information. This is how many volunteers your agency uses to help provide the service, and you put that in there. And on average, how many total hours do they donate to help provide this service every week? And save. And then when you save it, it'll do a calculation of a full-time equivalent. So the 2 volunteers that you have providing 20 hours a week is the equivalent of having a part-time person for 20 hours a week. Okay, and then if you just want to delete the whole thing because you decided maybe you don't want to do homemaker, then you can delete it here. If you want to do another service, then you just pull this down and pull out another service that you want to do, and it'll just add it to the grid, and then you go all the way across like you did with, like we did with this one. And then attachments, and you add now. And the certificate of good standing can be found on the Secretary of State's website.
Lisa, I tried to just now add it and I kept getting some, an error message. Could you try adding a PDF to that and see what happens, please?
Sure.
Grab Chewy.
Sorry, I had to do it. So it can be Word, Excel, a PDF, a JPEG, or a PNG. And then if you're not uploading the certificate of good standing, then you put Y here. Did it tell you why it wouldn't take it?
No, so hit save and see what happens on yours if you would. Well, okay then. I will
Did you
keep
hate
working
that?
on it. It likes purple minions for some reason.
It does. I love purple minions. So it could be the size of the file. You might want to make sure it's not more than 10 millibytes, whatever the M stands for.
Lisa, I know in the past, it didn't like anything other than PDFs.
Oh, really?
I noticed that this last year it would accept like Excel and stuff.
Yeah, I think this one was.
I'm thinking you're correct. I'm thinking maybe the size of her file is more than what it can accept.
Yeah, it's just one page from the Secretary of State without any fancy graphics. So I don't know, I'll download again. It must have some sort of string issue, but we'll figure it out. Thank you for demonstrating.
Just don't take your car to a repair shop today. I hate it when I take my car in and they can't repeat whatever it is I'm having trouble with. So this is your agency information. You're doing business as, if it's different than what's on your W-9, your federal ID number, your inception date of your organization, the type of organization, and it says check all that apply. How that. So this is the federal government requires funding recipients to focus on women-owned and minority-owned businesses whenever possible. And then contact information. All of this is required. For most everybody, this is going to be required. And so you just fill this out and check what they are down here. And except for other, you need to have someone assigned to this role, but it doesn't mean that that one person can't be assigned to multiple roles. So if you have a really small organization, then one or two people are going to have multiple roles. And it automatically listed me as the proposal contact because I'm entering it. And so the first thing that you need to do when you're done with your proposal is you need to validate it. 9 errors were found. 1 budget error, and if you click here, it'll tell you what it is. Homemaker must balance. So I guess
if you click on that, usually it takes you right to that spot where you need to make changes.
Okay.
Wow, that's a nice budget.
Until you try to pay somebody a living wage, it is. It's okay. So see, now sometimes you have to, this is why if you do your expenses first and you're matching to that, we really just discourage going back and forth and just changing it until this is green, because you want it to be not just matching, but reasonable as well. So I should have put more expenses in, so. And we are done. We're not going to finish the validation process, but I'm really happy with how far we did get. So just be sure, I will do my best to get your instructions out sooner rather than later, and I will include that multiple step process for you. It does require some planning on your part. So we're a minute over, but if anybody has one burning question, I can take one question right now without holding everybody over too much.
Lisa, if the phones aren't working and we need to reach you, email is good?
Email's good, and you can have my cell phone number too.
Okay, I think I...
Okay.
Okay.
And what's your phone, your cell phone, Lisa?
719-231-3922.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was 2 questions.
I know. I was going to say something.
Lisa, the narrative section doesn't list any questions for me.
No, I know. And I'm going to, we only had 2 last year, and I'm going to review those 2. And if they're not absolutely required, then I'm not going to add them back in. I'll just ask Chocolate to remove that page out of the proposal. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Lisa, you've been requested your cell phone. I'll just put it in for that person.
Do what?
Somebody asked for your cell phone.
Oh, sure.
Since you're talking, I'll give it to them.
Thank you. All right, guys.
Did you guys say about how much you plan on giving away in this grant cycle total? Or you still
We just got the figures from the state and we haven't really figured them out yet.
Okay. No more questions for me.
Yeah, but we'll have that. We'll have that for you.
Cool. Thank you.
Is it a lot less than the previous year?
You know, we've got the COVID-19 funds, we've got Homestead Act money, and then adjustments were made to our allocations. So it might be less than last year.
Okay. I figured.
But I don't know by how much, so.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, there's another meeting waiting to start, so I'm gonna head out. But you guys.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Good job.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Unmute your phones if you muted them.